Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the Airthings Masters Day 4, the final day of the preliminaries. This is Sagar Shah and welcoming all of you to a fun-filled, exciting live stream. Sorry for the slight delay because I was just setting up things and suddenly an error came up at the last moment, some NVENC error on my OBS, and I could not fix it to be here on time, but here I am. We are in the 13th round of the tournament. There are 3 rounds today, and just a very quick update on what the standings are like. So these are the standings right now on your screen that you can see, and Pragnananda right now is on, he needs like 2 wins at least today, because he is on number 12 position with 15 points, and if you look at it, he needs to get to top 8 in order to qualify, and top 8 are already on 18 points. So this game against Vincent Keymer is extremely important. So let's get it rolling. Right now, Pragg with the white pieces opened his game with 1 e4. Vincent played c6. This is known as the, guys, what's the name of the opening? Come on, let's go. And I hope that you can hear me well. I'm back home in Mumbai, and everything is good. Everything is well set. Our aim for today, the subscriber aim is to reach 857k. So we are 400 away. Let's aim it. Yes, it's called Karo Khan. Dr. Anand Tendulkar, Mihir Kuwad, Mr. Dam, Coder Pro. This is known as the Karo Khan. Arvind Chess. Well done. D4. Pragnananda says I'm capturing the center. D5. E5. Bishop F5. The advanced variation of the Karo Khan. H4. And now a very small trap has been set. If you play E6 in this position, that is a blunder. A big blunder. Big blunder. What's the move here? White to play and win. Guys, can you tell me? What is the move that gives white the win here? Let's see how good everyone's here. Oof. Strong. You know, I love it when there's only one move that comes in the chat, which is only one. Everyone has just given one move. That means such strength in the chat. Mistadam, Kunal Gupta, Venkatesh Deshpande, Manvik Jain, Hassan Imam, Shaibi Binoj, Ayush Ranjan, account number 2, Vandana Chelappa, Modi ji, congratulations. Well done, guys. So g4 traps the bishop here, because then if you go bishop e4, I will play f3. If you go back, I have h5. Your bishop is completely trapped. So that's the reason why you go h5. You gain space. You stop g4. I go bishop d3. Now Pragnananda exchanges that bishop. It's a debatable decision because this is your good bishop on d3, while technically speaking, it's not a great bishop for black here, but there's something else in the position which is more important, and that is the space advantage that white has. Knight f3, queen a5 check, very common, because what you want to do is eventually go queen a6 and exchange the queens. So knight d2, knight h6, Pragg castles. Knight comes to f5, a4 was played, queen to a6, and generally you do not want to exchange these queens as white, because once you exchange, black gets a very comfortable position in this endgame. So you go c4, bishop b4. Now the bishop is not really threatening to take here, because you can always take back, but it's a good square to be on. b3, supporting the center there. c5 has been played, and this is quite risky because black is behind in development, and Pragnananda, still in his preparation, plays queen to b1. Wow. Very interesting move by Pragg. I think what he is preparing is he wants to take on d5, and he couldn't have done that because his queen on d3 was hanging. So, knight d4. Yash Joshi says, "Bhai ghar aa gaya, आवाज में दम आ गया." Hi guys, over there I had to be a little bit softer. Everyone was sleeping. यहाँ पे तो यार अपना ही घर है तो चिल्ला सकते हैं. CD, sorry, knight d4, CD5, ED5, and now knight F3. You take on D4 with the knight, and you'll get a nice positional structure, Queen G6. And Pragg has to decide now whether he should exchange the queens or not. Actually, you can take it, and if you take D4, then there could be bishop C3 problems. So you can begin with bishop B2, and next move you can pick this up with a nice position for white. I mean, white definitely has a small edge. Now, for all the opening buffs out there who love to analyze openings, I think Pragnananda's move Queen B1 is definitely something to look into. So let's just have a look on our ChessBase 16 board, which we want to check as to whether this was a new idea by Pragg or was he following something that has been played before. So I'll try to open up our ChessBase 16 board here. Yes, there we have it. And this, by the way, knight BD2 position has been seen on 286 games. Castles also has been seen. This has been seen. A4, not the most popular move, only 11 games. But SL Narayanan has championed this move. The main move here that Anish has also played and many other top players have played is NB3 and C4. But A4, Queen A6, C4, Bishop B4, B3, this has been played, and Queen B1 has been played once. Becker versus Johnson in correspondence chess. So look at Pragnananda's preparation, and guys, another reason why you should work with ChessBase and Mega Database or Live Database. Check it out, it's very useful because it has been played in one game and Pragnananda has it prepared. It was not even played in a over the board game because Dominguez Firuza has happened. Oh, even Dominguez Firuza, Queen B1. No, DC5 was played in that game. Okay. And Dominguez Caruana, Bishop A3 was played. So Queen B1 is the move here. And just very quickly, oops. Yeah, and Queen B1, that game continued. Knight D4, same way, take, CD, ED. No, Rook D1 was played there, not Knight F3. CD was not played in that game. Okay, got it. Fine, we have understood the gist of it. Let's get back to the game. And has this happened? Or Pragnananda is still thinking. Pragg is like, should I take on G6 or should I, not take it? It's a big question for him. But if he does not take it, what does he do? He goes Knight D4, Queen B1, Rook B1. Okay, that's what he's thinking. Oh, he took. Bishop B2 has been played. And now you have to see what Vincent Keymer comes up with. I think he will go Knight C6 here, defending his pawn. If you take here Knight D4, then is E5 hanging? Maybe, yeah. But E5 there is Rook E1. But there's Bishop E1, Rook E1, and then maybe, yeah. But perhaps he just takes, and this position could be is better for white, but not a huge edge. So actually, you can prefer taking with the bishop here on D4, and then after Knight D4, Bishop C3 and Rook AD1. This looks clearly better for white. So Knight C6 has been played here. And now let's look at what Pragnananda will do. Will he take with the bishop? Will he take with the knight? Both moves look interesting. He takes with the knight. Okay, very, very interesting. and Pragg has this kind of position which is to his liking. Now Vincent is a very aggressive player. He's very well prepared in general, but once you get into such a position where you are slightly worse, you definitely are not feeling very happy. So knight e5, if it is played, then rook f e1, take the rook. I take with the rook, and you can't save your knight here because it is pinned to the king. So that's the reason why white would be better. Let's also look at a few more games that are happening here. One of them is Anish Giri versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. Let's also have them on screen. Anish has been looking a bit tensed overall in this tournament, but he has excellent chances of qualifying. He is on 19 points right now, and he is taking on Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. So Anish versus Shak, and the position right now seems around slightly better for black. This actually, the opening was Slav, and take b5, bishop d3, e4, and Anish was very well prepared here. Takes g6. Ooh, g6. This looks like an interesting idea by Anish. f4, bishop g7, castles, takes, and seems like black is doing very well here out of the opening, because the knight has a good square here. The bishop is on this long diagonal. Okay, this bishop on g7 is not the best, but it will slowly come into the game. So Anish Giri has a nice position here. Let's look at Magnus. I hope that Magnus is feeling well. We got the news that Magnus is suffering from COVID, and I hope he recovers soon and gets into the best of his health. But Magnus right now taking on Levon Aronian. So an important encounter there, and Levon has always been a tough opponent for Carlsen. So let's have a look at Magnus on your screen. There you have Magnus. Yeah, in general he's not looking in best of health. Otherwise he comes with his hair combed and looking very, very sharp, but in this tournament he hasn't been at his best. Right now Levon Aronian has just sacrificed an exchange against Magnus. It was the Rosolimo, and castles d3, takes on c6, e5, take here. Okay, take on f3, queen f3, rook d8, b3, knight f6, bishop a3, knight d5, knight a4, knight b3, queen e, knight b4, queen here, d4. Whoa, what a move. d4. If you take with the pawn, then I have bishop b4, that's a free knight. And if you take on d4 with any of the piece, then we have c3, winning a piece. So he played a5, now c3, takes here, bishop takes. Wow, guys, this is really epic play. And now, oh, he doesn't even capture here. He goes bishop b6. He's attacking the queen and the rook. Amazing. Take on b6. Now he's played bishop b6. What does black do? Let's say he goes queen d7, just as an example, then bishop d8. So Aronian making the most of right now his chances. He's played bishop b6. He's completely better. Maybe queen f4 is a possibility, and then I guess he will take on e1, because if he takes on d8, there is knight g2, king g2, king d8, and that's the position. Okay, let's go back to Pragg's game. How is he playing? Oh, and Vincent took on d4 here with the knight, bishop d4, and played a very, very logical move, king e7. Pragg goes rook f d1, and my thinking here is that the king is very well placed on e6. But Pragnananda has a very good move here, and I want to ask all of you, what should white play in this position? White to play, what would you do here? Think about it. It's an important moment because the king is very well placed on e6, and it's a very logical idea to keep the king here. How do you activate? Satej Narapuram says, get the stream to 1000 likes. Yes, exactly. Please do like the stream, guys. And our aim today is to reach 857,000 subscribers and 3000 likes. Okay, that's the aim. Let's start with 1000. Okay, what are the moves that are being recommended? Let me check in chat. Chess moves. You want to play f4. Okay, interesting. Rook a c1, but rook a c1, rook a c8, you know, you don't want to exchange. So the right move, and I understand f4, but the more pawns you place on the same color as your bishop, the more problems you will face in the endgame. You know, the king will come here, then it can come here. So the move that I was actually looking for is rook to d3 with the idea of swinging the rook here, looking at these weaknesses. Always try to think, where are my opponent's weaknesses and how I can attack them. And the right move is given by Rayan MD, Kaustup, Abhilash, Alkondan, Paras, Shreyas, Adiga, Liem Quang, Bhavish, Manash, Achyuta. Well done, guys. And Anand Bala, thank you so much for becoming Pillar of Indian Chess, our first member for today. Thank you so much. All the money that is collected through memberships goes to chess players and chess talent. So thank you all for supporting. Rook d3 is a very, very nice move here. And by the way, in the game, Vincent doesn't even get his king up. He goes first rook to c8. I think Pragnananda is going to continue with our plan. Rook d3, rook here. And you know, it also stops some bishop c3 ideas. So that is going to be, oh, and Pragg goes rook d3. He's played his rook up to d3. He wants to swing over to g3, wants to put pressure here. And who knows, you know, you get this rook here, then it goes here, then it goes here. It's like you have those siblings, right, who always keep following each other. Something similar. So ye rook, I will go to engineering college. Okay, I will also go. I will do MBA. Okay, I will also go. I will then try to do PhD. Okay, I will also do. So let's see if the rook on a1. Eric Hansen versus Nepo, you want to check. Okay, Eric Hansen yesterday managed to beat Magnus Carlsen, and today he is better against Jan Nepomniachtchi as well. Look at this, he has pinned the bishop on the last rank. How is Eric Hansen managing to beat everyone in this tournament? That is amazing. Just very quickly, where was anything that went wrong? Oh, in the opening itself, yeah, things started to go haywire. Knight f3, e6, bg2, queen e2 takes, queen d5, okay, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b3, knight d4. Oh, this was not a good move by Nepo. Takes, knight c3, and white has a very good position. Okay, it looked like not completely bad, but slowly and steadily this move rook e6 here allowed rook d8. Eric Hansen is just outplaying his opponents now. Knight d1 with the idea of bishop f6 or knight e3, knight f5. Lot of ladies. Guys, look at what Amruta has got me here. This is her excellent service. She's got me full plate, and you know these oranges don't even look orange here, but they are orange. It looks like blue. But what is this? Am I going to eat like 6 oranges? Okay, and by the way, the other rook has come up and said, I will also do engineering. Okay, king e6, and now rook g3. I'll do MBA now. King f7, and guys, how about this rook coming up? Mayur says, "Sir, lele oranges what?" That's Marathi way of saying that the oranges are spoiled. Yeah, how about this move? Does it make sense? Like trying to give this check or not really? Because after rook d8, let's imagine just check, king g8. This rook is defending. So I think for Pragnananda, it's not going to be very easy to break through, although it's very clear that there is only one player playing for an advantage here, that is Pragg. But how much better is the question? Can we go rook g5? Now look at this move, rook g5. Okay, could be that he can go bishop e7 to attack here, my rook. And now what is the only move to put pressure on the black camp? Come on, guys. You have to be quick. You have to be thinking. You have to find a way for Pragg to get bigger advantage in this position. What should you play? Rook d3 followed by rook d3 looks nice as Savita chess. Sure, but maybe this idea is also not bad. Venkatesh Deshpande, very quick. Mr. Dam as well. Jishan Som, well done. E6, love it guys, love it. E6 is the move that I was looking for here. You don't want to retreat. Venkatesh, Mr. Jishan, Anand Tendulkar, Chess Info, Vishal Khombare, Anupam Chatterjee, Neelab Bor Thakur, Shaibi Binoj, Chess Wizard of Land of Wonder, well done. So I go e6, I sacrifice the pawn here, and then your king has to move. Let's say you take king e6, then I was thinking rook e1, but then he would go back. You go rook g6 check, and you are much better because g7 is also falling. So e6, maybe you have to take with the rook, and then you play rook takes d5. And if he gets greedy and takes here, then I have rook d7 check, rook e7, and now an important move, bishop c5, attacking the rook, rook takes, and white is better. So let's see if Pragnananda goes for this rook g5 idea. It's a good one and very interesting one. Karan Yogi, yes, rook e6 is the correct move. Right now, Pragg is slightly better. He goes for a check on f3, and Vincent says, draw karna hai. I'm ready for a draw, Pragg. If you want to draw, I'm ready to accept the draw. But I think Pragg may not draw the game. He has 5 minutes. He repeats once. Definitely not going to repeat twice. If we all know Pragnananda, we know that he's a big fighter, and whenever opportunity arises, he wants to keep playing against any opponent. He won't accept a draw so quickly. Let's quickly check what Anish is up to. Anish's position is quite good. Right now, he has the bishop pair, but the knight on d6 is very strong. But queen a7 with the idea of attacking the rook and bishop f8 could come into the picture. Uday Gupta says, today voice is excellent. Arey, thank you, Uday Gupta. By the way, here, look at what has happened. we saw until bishop b6, he went queen d7, okay. Levon played knight c5. Oh, Levon blundered, it seems. Bishop d8 was the best move for Magnus. He went knight c5. And now, guys, what's the move here for black? Black to play. What would you play in this position? Come on. Levon is thinking to himself that, okay, Magnus, I don't need to take your knight immediately. What I'll do is I'll attack your queen. If you move your queen away, next move I'll take your rook. Then I will take this. I'm getting a free tempo. But what did he miss? What is the move in this position? Yes, absolutely. Pragnananda says, Magnus says, well, I know my queen is hanging, but what about this intermediate check on f3? If you move your king, I will take another pawn attacking your queen. If you take here, I will take on d4 attacking your rook. So you better take this piece. And so after g takes f3, in comes another excellent move, and these are all the moves played by someone who's suffering from COVID. Unbelievable. Magnus on fire. Knight d7 had to be played because if you go queen takes, then queen d5, and black is better. So take on d7, take on e2, take on d8, king d8, and now e5. Magnus Carlsen is clearly better. He's going to take bishop takes e5, then take here, and who knows, he might win this game. I mean, from a bad position out of the opening, he's clearly better. But this knight f3 move check was missed by Levon Aronian. However, our chat is not missing any of those moves, and big congratulations to Mahish, Argodeep, Shaibi, Avinash, Ishprit, Kunal, Dangerous, Chess is More Than Fun, Shubhi Gupta, and Atul Kumar. Well done, guys. Okay, going back to Pragnananda's game. What is he up to? Did he agree to repeat? No, he did not repeat. What did he do? He played the move after king f7. He played f4. Very interesting choice. Bishop e7, and Vincent was like, Pragg, I'm attacking your pawn on f4. Why don't you defend it? And Pragg is like, defense? What's that? I'm going f5. And he's pushed his pawn to f5. If now bishop takes h4 in this position, e6 is just bone crushing. Next move, this is hanging. So you can't play bishop h4. Well, the only logical move is to take. And that is what Vincent will do. He'll take this pawn. So what is Pragnananda's plan here? He gave up a pawn. His other pawn is hanging. Why did he do that? White to move. What's the move here? What should... Yes, Mahish, Beloglavi, Dhruv Garg, and he's played e6. Okay, very interesting. Now, guys, the game is heating up. If you take with the rook, this time rook g7 check is unnecessary. So I think Vincent will take with the king. The good news for Vincent is that his moves are pretty easy to make. You know, they are not very tough. It's like saying, you know, should I take with the rook? If I take with the rook, he's coming in with a check. Where does my king go? King f8. But then he will go rook f1. He will attack here. Oh my god, this is getting very dangerous. So let me not take with the rook. So let me take with the king. And he's done that. And now for Pragg to decide between rook e1 check or rook takes g7. Both look tempting. But if you take rook g7, there is bishop h4 taking the pawn. But if I give rook e1 check, you have to go back to d7 because where else do you go? King f7, there is rook g7. Okay, you can go king d6 as well. That is possible and maybe something to watch out for. But even king d7, rook g7, it looks scary. But black then plays his rook to e6. And black is doing pretty okay here. So Pragnananda thinking whether rook e1 will pose more problems or rook takes g7. So we'll come back to this game. Meanwhile, very big result is going to happen, I think, in Eric Hansen versus Nepo, because Eric is just playing the tournament of his life here. See, clamps. Look, this idea of h4, h5 is so Karpovian, just gaining space. Something will fall sooner or later, and Nepo sort of lashed out with g5, king takes, bishop e5, f6, bishop g7, g4, threatening a mate on h. Not a mate, but maybe check here on f5. And it's time to resign actually. Because look at this variation. Queen e6, check here, king here, and now boom, boom, boom. Check, next move, picking this up, and game over. Okay, Pragg goes for rook to e1 check in this position. And now where does the king go? The king has to go to d7. I believe, yeah, he plays king d7. Very cool move by Vincent, because rook g7, that is rook e6. Pragg takes it. And Black's defensive moves are very, very straightforward. So he will play. And now, by the way, in the game, Eric takes first on b7. He did not take on h6, but he is threatening queen h6 now. And how does Nepo even deal with it? I think f5 is the forced move. But then queen f5, gf5. And I have I have several extra pawns. So I think Nepo will resign soon. He goes queen e4 check. And this tournament has been Nepo's amazing performance. You know, he has scored 23 points, or how many? 27, right? 27, and he's 7 points ahead of the field. To beat the leader in such convincing style, too good. Also, Anish Giri here, by the way, has lost a pawn in the position, but with h4, he's clamping down the king. Could be that there are some mating nets coming up. If he can get the rook on the back rank, that would be game over. And meanwhile, Magnus Carlsen showing his endgame strength. He's just placing. He has an extra pawn plus a bishop versus knight. Magnus will convert this. I believe so. Let's see. Meanwhile, f5 has been played in the game between Nepo and Eric, because now the rook controls this and he takes on f5. 2 pawns up in this position. King g8. He can win the third pawn now with rook takes a7, and resignation is soon coming in. Meanwhile, for Pragnananda here, he has taken on e6 after rook g7, rook e6. He took, check here, king d7, and now he goes rook to h6. This looks like a position which is moving towards a draw. I think maybe the most natural move here is to take on h4. Then I take on h5. Then you play bishop e7, and then I take on f5. Then you play king e6. Equal, maybe a draw happening very soon. So this is what I presume might happen. But let's see if there are any twists in the tail here. Meanwhile, Alexandra Kosteniuk, who has been having a very tough event, continues here to be, in big trouble. Look at this attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces directed against her king, and Alexandra will lose her 13th consecutive game here. This is not an easy experience for her, but I can only say that she is getting very, very strong with this experience, and I'm sure it's going to help her in her chess career. How? Very difficult to say, but it will. Well, you can't really save your queen here, because after this, rook takes f6, g takes f6, and bishop f6 is leading to a mate. Meanwhile, rook takes h5 has happened in Pragnananda's game. Bishop is attacked. This is also attacked. Meanwhile, Ding Liren versus Andrey Esipenko is also a game worth looking at. Right now, Ding Liren slightly better because of his outside passed pawn. But it's only a small edge, not a big one. Nodirbek and Duda have drawn their game, so that's good result for Nodirbek. And Anish Giri now was threatening a mate. Ooh. Has he blundered a piece? Ooh, 94. No, what happened? Actually, bishop h6, everything was looking good. Queen d4, queen e1 check was not needed. A better move would have been queen c1 check. But okay, queen e1, queen g1. And now he played queen g3. Ooh. And rook d4. And if you play bishop a6, then 94, and you lose the rook. He missed this. He missed this discovered attack. Rook d4, bishop f4, rook d3, bishop e5, 94, take on d3, take on g3, and now completely lost position for Anish. That's not a good result for Anish Giri. Meanwhile, Erik Hansen has just won his game against Nepomniachtchi. Kudos to ChessBase. Well done. I mean, to beat Nepo in this tournament was not at all easy. Meanwhile, Pragnananda is now trying his best to put pressure on his opponent. He's given a check, king d7. It looks like he's slightly better. He is slightly better because, you know, he has pressure in this position. His rook is slightly more active. He has this outside passed pawn, but all of this doesn't lead to much because black can activate his rook in one move. You know, he can activate his rook, he can also drop his bishop back. But let's see, you know, when both players have just 1 minute on the clock, there can be many tricks. And if you look at the screen, both Vincent and Pragg, so focused. These two are the future of the chess world. They are going to fight against each other many, many times. It's like in 1992, when no, maybe it was before, not 92, maybe 1988, when Vishy Anand took on Vladimir Kramnik for the first time. And well, everyone saw that and they said, okay, two youngsters taking on each other. But little did they know that they would play against each other over 200 times in future, you know. So that's how rivalries are created. Rook g6, bishop goes back, and now Pragg has a choice between activating his king or starting to push his pawn. It is clear that Pragg feels that he has chances here, and at the same time Vincent is super calm. If you look at the videos, then Vincent and Anish both sitting in that same pose there. And Vincent makes his move. Sorry, Pragg goes g4, a6, very calm, because if he had moved the rook somewhere, then bishop takes a7 would be hanging. Siddharth Sharma says, just ordered endgame play by Jakob Agard. Oh, well done. That's a tough book for sure. I mean, it's a good book, but the positions are really difficult there, and you will have to work very hard. I hope you are ready for the grind. King f2. Pragg is getting his king out. What does Vincent do now? Give check by rook, says Arun Sahu. Arun, you want to give check here? He goes rook e8. He's trying to cut the king off. And maybe threatening rook e4 with a double attack here. Pragg has to be careful. I think king f3 makes a lot of sense. Defending your pawn. Today, by the way, guys, last game of the day is between Anish Giri and Magnus Carlsen. It's going to be an epic match, especially after recently they had a quite a tough situation on Twitter, and Anish saying something and Magnus saying grow up and stuff like that. So this will be a very interesting game to look forward to. Meanwhile, Praggnanandhaa now I think is ready to repeat, perhaps. He feels that there's not much to play for. Check, king e6. Or is he going to try? I don't think so. I think rook g7. Pragg may not try this anymore. Vivaswan Damle, what according to you are strengths and weaknesses? Okay, by the way, draw accepted. Praggnanandhaa gets a draw. Maybe not the best result for Pragg because he was white against Vincent. But okay, that's how it is, and let's hope that he's able to win the next two games. What according to your strengths and weaknesses of Pragg, Arjun, Nihal and VD? Oof. Vivaswan, that is a very tough question, and maybe we can have a stream on that. But everyone has different strengths and different weaknesses, I believe. Meanwhile, Magnus Carlsen has activated his king, but it seems like Levon Aronian has managed to hold this to a draw, which is a big thing here. I would say that for Vidit more, tries to be more positionally correct. He is very objective, but has lesser wins against strong opponents and also lesser losses. And he's currently way more experienced than all the youngsters. Arjun, I think, it's very difficult to categorize his style, but somehow Arjun is able to, beat very strong opponents in shorter time formats. And by the way, a draw in Magnus versus Aronian. Magnus is not very happy, but he was in second position, and with this draw I think he is moving towards his qualification mark, also playing in COVID. Not at all easy. Meanwhile, Anish Giri, is there any twist left? No, this is completely lost. The B pawn is just queening. Ding Liren has blundered. Oh my god. But where did his mistake happen actually? It seemed like he was better. White was completely under control. All of a sudden, I think this is very uncharacteristic of Ding. His king got totally exposed. Rook b3. And now queen f1 check in the air. e3 is hanging, by a thread. So let's have Ding and Esipenko on our screen. Look at Anish Giri there. Super focused against Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. But this is game over, guys. Anish is lost. Let's say let's see what does he play now. King h5 he has played. Okay. I mean, Shak, if he queens, Anish wants to take it. So let's say queen, take, and this is just straightforward victory. I mean, yes, you have 4 pawns here, but they are nothing. And going back to the game of Esipenko and Ding Liren, look at this. Esipenko's queen and rook are swarming around the white king. Queen f2 checkmate is threatened. Ding Liren right now looking completely in big trouble. And knight f5 has been played. About queen here, I think queen f2 check is just over. Queen f2, king g4, queen g2, king here, g5, and wins. Esipenko has won because if you go king h5, bishop f7 is a mate. So Esipenko has won his game against Ding Liren. That's a big result. And if you think about it, yesterday Pragg managed to beat Esipenko. So that's massive. Very talented youngster. Now going to Anish versus Mamedyarov game. Anish still fighting on even after these 2 queens. He goes for a discovered check on the king, but well, what? Just the king moves away. Yeah, king d1, check, king c2, a few more checks in the position, and then Anish will resign. King b3 maybe. It's bishop b8, queen b8, king d4. Well, Anish has 4 pawns here. But I don't think he's going to be able to survive this. And bishop c4, he wants to come bishop e2. If Anish manages to save this game, that will be an epic save. But I don't think that's going to happen, guys. Because look at this, queen and bishop. He pushes his pawn. What about bishop e2? It's over, right? Yeah, bishop e2. I mean, 4 queens against, he goes king g4. 4 pawns against a queen is not enough. Especially with the white king being so near, it's not going to help. So queen b6 now. He goes king f6. Okay. Guys, after this game, I will show you the standings. Also take you through the results of this round. You know most of them, but I'll just take you through them. f4 has been played by Anish Giri. He's not giving up. Anish is like, if you take on f3, I'll take king f3 and I'll use this pawns. Next game of Pragnananda will start in 7 minutes. He will be playing against Niemann, I believe, or Artemiev. These are the 2 opponents that are left for him. How to, okay, queen b1, nice move by Shak. Shak wants to go here. What h2, but h2 so as to take control of this square. Anish making it as difficult as he can for Mamedyarov. Yeah, I think 60 seconds enough with 10-second increment, right? And now Anish is thinking how to continue. Let's go h2. I think h2 makes sense. What else? But then queen e4 is hanging. But then you have h1 queen, right? So, not sure. Anish is thinking here. Guys, queen e4, h1 queen, queen takes g6 check, king h3, queen h5, king g2, bishop f3, king f3, queen h1. Wins. Oh, he takes on g6. Okay. I don't think there's going to be any twist here. Shaibi says 100 marks for Anish for fighting on. True. Not giving up till the very end. And now takes this. So the main point is that if you take with the pawn, I can go queen f1, stopping your both the pawns and the king. So he takes with the king, but after check and take this pawn on e4, king f5. Okay. f3, king e4, f2, king e3. Yeah, e3 was played, king e4, and now queen f3, check incoming. That is lost. So Anish Giri fought very hard here, but now has resigned, and Shakhriyar Mamedyarov pours himself some water or some tea. What is that? Never know, yeah. Queen f3, and Anish resigns here. Not happy with the way he has played, but well, it is what it is. This was the last game of the round. So few results that I would like to share. Hans Niemann loses to Vladislav Artemiev. Vincent Keymer and Pragnananda drew their game. Alexandra Kosteniuk's nightmare in this tournament continues as Liem Quang gets the better of her. Erik Hansen, in what was the biggest upset of the day, beat Jan Nepomniachtchi in fabulous style without making any mistakes. So a great game for Erik Hansen. Andrey Esipenko beat Ding Liren, and look at how he's checkmated Ding Liren's king right in the corner of the board. Duda versus Nodirbek ended in a draw in a Grunfeld, and Magnus Carlsen's game against Levon Aronian was a topsy-turvy one, with Levon having an advantage, then Magnus having an advantage, and in the end the game ending in a draw. Mamedyarov beat Anish Giri. So on to our standings and seeing who is right now leading in the tournament. We have Nepo, who is still in the lead with 27 points. Artemiev moves up to 23. Erik Hansen with 22 points in third position. Andrey Esipenko on 21. Magnus Carlsen also on 21. Vincent Keymer on 21. That young German lad is actually going to make it to in top 8, it seems. Anish Giri, in spite of the loss, is still in the 7th position. Nodirbek, another youngster, in the 8th place. Now Aronian on 18, Ding Liren on 18, Liem Quang on 18, Pragnananda on 16. So all those who were saying that Pragnananda does not have chances to make it, I disagree. Pragg has good chances of making it into the top 8 here, because in 2 games, I think even if he scores 1 win, 2 wins would definitely get him there. But even if he scores 1 win, I think he has 1 win and 1 draw, has some chances there. Right now, Mamedyarov on 14, Duda on 13, Niemann on 11, Kosteniuk on 0. Just to show you the pairings of this round that we will now be seeing. The pairings are Artemiev versus Anish Giri, Magnus versus Mamedyarov, Nodirbek versus Aronian, Esipenko versus Duda, Nepo versus Ding Liren, Kosteniuk versus Eric Hansen, Vincent Keymer versus Liem Quang, and Hans Niemann versus Pragnananda. The Niemann versus Pragnananda is going to be a very, very important encounter. I think this would be a very critical game for Pragg. Especially Niemann loves to play attacking and aggressive chess. So we will definitely see some fireworks in this encounter. Let's see if Pragg manages to win. Because if he wins this, he will have good chances. If he draws or loses, I think then he's out. Also in the last round, he would be facing a very tough opponent in the form of Artemiev. So this is Pragnananda's chance here. Let's see how he grabs it or not. Eric Hansen is now going to play against Kosteniuk. That's going to be a very interesting game as well. So there we have Pragnananda and Niemann on the screen. Let's get it rolling, guys. So the game starts off with c4, and Pragg is sticking to his line which he played against Mamedyarov as well. c4 e5, c4 e5, g3 c6, d4 e4, a3 d5, knight to c3, bishop e7. Now very important to begin with bishop e7 here and not knight f6, because knight f6 there could have been a pin. Now f3, he takes, knight takes, both sides castle, castle h6. Still in theory, I mean both Niemann and Pragnananda are very well booked up. You can see them playing so quickly, and there Niemann actually taking the first thing in the game. I think he's trying to recollect his opening prep there. Harshal Mehta says, Pragnananda is from my school. I'm so lucky to see him. Oh, nice. Goes h3. Niemann plays h3 and then stretches himself. Just to show you guys if what is happening here has been played before. It always gives us a good idea of, you know, if we check our databases to see what has been the new move, how well are the players prepared. I think that could be useful. So let me just pull up my ChessBase 16 board and show you where were the new ideas played. So if we see the move e4 by Pragg, 594 games, but a3 only has 8 games. But it has been played by Navara, Bocharov. So Pragnananda was well prepared with d5, knight c3, bishop e7, only 2 games. Once again, bishop e7 is, you see email here, it means these are correspondence games. So Pragg preparing heavily from correspondence games. And after knight f6, f3, Grishuk Caruana as well, e takes, knight takes, castles, castles, and Pragg goes h6. We are following Navara Vityugov, Grishuk Caruana. And in those games, knight h4 was played in one game, cd5 in another, bishop f4, but h3 is the first new move of the game by Hans Niemann. Okay, going back to the game after h3, it seems like Pragnananda is slightly surprised. He's taking his time as to what needs to be done here. So other interesting games of this round, Magnus versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. It's going to be a very interesting one. And Anish versus Artemiev, also interesting. We have Nodirbek versus Aronian. You can see here Aronian choosing a very, very interesting system with black. Bishop b4, takes, f5. Wow. And now these doubled pawns, mangled pawns. Aronian has the static advantage of the c5 square for his knight, but black has, white has the bishop pair. So let's see how this game pans out. Eric Hansen, meanwhile, playing against Kosteniuk. The game started off as Italian. d4 takes. Oh, Kosteniuk playing this kind of interesting line. I think knight, bishop d2, knight e4 is the main line. But he played d5. ed, knight d5, castles, a3, bishop d2, and this time Kosteniuk has a nice position out of the opening. Say bishop g4 could be played. Bishop g4, yeah. h3, bishop f3, queen f3. You can't take on d4 because the knight is hanging on d5. Sports with Tanish says, Sagar, through ChessBase, can we learn a chess opening, tactics and table-based endgames? You can do a lot, and I want to maybe make some videos on that, so I'll do that in future. There's already one big video of 2 hours where I've shown what you can do with ChessBase. Maybe I'll create smaller ones, but yeah, all of what you said can be done. Queen takes f3, and now d5, knight under pressure. So maybe you have to go back. Look at this, right? You go here, I go back, and now you take on d4, but I'll take on b7. And in this position, I have the bishop pair. I'll put my bishop on c3, rooks in the center. It seems like Kosteniuk might be able to press against Eric. Now, Pragnananda's game, after h3 was played, Pragg went bishop e6. Very natural move, very strong move. Pragg has got a good position out of the opening. Now, the only question that comes to my mind is after cd5, how do you respond? Because if you take with the knight, white gets the center. So therefore, you take with the pawn. Now, this is an isolated pawn. But on the other hand, the knight is coming out on c6 and the white position has some weaknesses, So that's the reason why black is doing pretty fine in spite of having an isolated pawn. So Niemann says, I don't want to take on d5 and allow your knight to come to c6. So what I'll do is I'll play g4 here with the idea of perhaps g5 in the air. Okay, Pragg says, I'm going in knight e4. He puts his knight in the center and look at Niemann. He plays queen c2 very quickly. I think Niemann is playing in Nepomniachtchi style. He saw yesterday that Nepo was able to put a lot of pressure on Pragg by playing fast. But let's see if this works out or if this backfires. This strategy might not be the best against Pragg. Clearly, if you take here, he will take with the pawn. And if you take on c4, then e4 in the position followed by center control for white. So this looks pretty good. Prabodh Prakash asks, how is it ensured that no one cheats here? By many ways. by the way, first takes here, Pragg goes knight d7. He says, I don't want this pawn and giving you the center. So he plays knight d7, rook b1. Now, I would love to play knight b6, but then there is c5, and then the b7 pawn would hang. So that's the reason why Pragg goes queen c7. Very strong move. Defending this now, clearly preparing knight b6. Also, could take at the right time on c4. So, the way in which anti-cheating measures are taken care of is by having arbiters on the same call, and also the players have two cameras. You can see only their front cams, but they also have another camera whereby their back, it's from the back, so their entire screen is shown, plus they have to share their screen. So on the app, I think maybe through a Zoom call or something, they share their screen. And I think before the games, sometimes there are random checks, like they will ask to show the room if there's anyone. They also have to keep their audio on. So as much as you can do to get a clean, cheating free game is done. Aditya Kamath says, Sagar, when will you start playing any tournaments? Well, I'm not going to play anything as of now, but I'm very happy that over the board tournaments have begun, guys. Please do check it out. From 25th of February, national championships beginning. We'll have on-ground coverage over there. We will also have videos, reports, interviews, lot of things from there. There will also be women's national championship in Odisha, men's national championship in Kanpur. We also then have national sub juniors in Delhi, national juniors in Gurgaon, or the other way around. But these two events, then we have the Guwahati Open in March, Delhi Open after that. So March 13 to 20 is Guwahati Open, 22 to 29 is Delhi Open, and from 31st March to 7th April or so is Gujarat Open. And guys, please do check out, if you want to play these tournaments, do so. These are always well organized events by All India Chess Federation. You can get your rating, and there is an article on ChessBase India, and there's also a calendar on chessbase.in, so you can check out these things. Oh, and Pragnananda moves in with his queen. G5 was played by Niemann. Niemann playing a bit rash chess. He was like, oh, Pragg, if you take, I will take here, and then I will try to checkmate you on h7. But Pragg said, every action has consequences, Niemann. And the fact that you pushed your pawn here means that your king is weak. And I'm coming in. And Niemann, the thing about Hans Niemann is that he rarely ever backs down from a challenge. He takes the pawn on h6 and asks Pragnananda, what is your plan? Pragg says, I'm taking on h3, threatening a mate in 1. And now Niemann should have played maybe e3 so that he can control this way, but he goes rook f2. And this is where Pragg has a massive opportunity. The massive opportunity, guys, now begins with a powerful move. What is it that Pragnananda should play? Because look, hg7 is coming. There is also rook takes b7. But Pragg has a very strong move here. Find, guys. Come on. You can find it. You can do it. So the moves that are being suggested, okay, bishop h4 I think doesn't look good because of knight h4. So careful with your suggestions, because this would be the difference between Pragg making it to top 8. Bishop d6. Ooh, Pragg goes g6. Maybe not the best. But knight f6 was the correct move and has been given by World of Wit, aka Harsha Aditya, Shaibi Binoj, Mohammad Shoaib, Liem Quang, Madhesh Kumar, Seher Ahmed, Dipam Shah, Ayush Maurya. So Pragg makes the most natural move that we humans would play when faced with, our opponent attacking us. We feel like we need to keep our pawn structure intact, but the winning move here was knight f6. And if you take now on g7, then I'll play rook fe8. The pawn shelters the king here, so there is no attack. Knight g4 is threatened, knight e4 is threatened, and all in all, black is winning. So knight f6, if Pragg had seen it, he would have played it, but he goes g6, and he's hoping that Niemann takes here the pawn on b7 when he can play bishop d6 and continue with the attack. Many of you said bishop h4 in this position, but knight h4 and white is completely better. So bishop d6, another move that was suggested, but then after something like king f1, it seems like you cannot checkmate him. Bishop takes h3 is coming up, and if you take here, then I take with the rook with a better position. So, and he goes queen d2 here. Very nice move by Niemann. Can anyone tell me what is the point of queen d2? If let's say I play a move like b6, why was queen d2 played? What is the point here? Yes, exactly, guys. You are absolutely right. Okay, I think I mixed up two lines, but h7 is what many of you have suggested, and fantastic job. Mistadam Sports with Tanish, Vaishnav, Abhishek, Arnav, account number 2, Rahul, Divyansh, Hassam, and Vardhan. That is the correct move. You push your pawn to h7, king takes h7, queen moves in, and then you have a winning position after queen takes h3. So after h7, Pragnananda should not take the pawn. He should go to h8, but then still the queen comes in here, threatening to take this, and it's not a good position. So Pragg goes bishop f5, and he asks Niemann, what is your plan with your rook? Niemann says, Pragg, but anyway willing to take this pawn on b7. So now what are you going to do? Pragg plays rook to b8, which is very interesting. I was also wondering if you can go knight f6 with the idea of knight e4, but rook e7 takes this under control. And if you go knight e4, then I can even take here, and over here white is better. So that's the reason why he went rook b8. He wants to get rid of this unwanted guest. I think takes, and I was wondering if queen f4 can be played, and definitely it can be. You will have to trade the queens. Once you trade the queens, white is in the driver's seat here. Okay, possibly black has good drawing chances, but yeah, I think Pragg missed his opportunity here with the move knight f6. It would have been not here, but in this position. Yeah, knight f6 with the idea of knight g4 and knight e4. Once he played g6, Niemann now takes, and I think queen f4. Yeah, he plays it. Very good move. MP says, does knight e5 sack work? Okay. Over here, you mean knight e5? But what's your idea? If you take with the knight, maybe you want to go bishop h4. Yeah, that's your plan. Not sure about it, but what if I take with the pawn? You want to play bishop c5. But then I have e3. So maybe black is surviving there. So knight e5 doesn't work. And what about Eric Hansen versus Alexandra Kosteniuk? This time Kosteniuk has close to decisive advantage. We were talking about this position after white takes on b7. White has the bishop pair and rook b8, queen e4, threatening a mate in 1. So f5, queen e3, c5. And what if Alexandra Kosteniuk manages to beat the guy who has been in great form? That is Eric Hansen. Let's go and check quickly what is up with Anish Giri. Anish is taking on a very formidable opponent in the form of Vladislav Artemiev. He has been his nemesis. He has always put Anish in deep trouble. And today Artemiev goes for some kind of it's transposed into Tarash. Knight c6, cd, knight d, bishop d3, a3, cd, ed, bishop f6, bishop e4. This is all well-known theory. Knight g6 has been played. And here, well, it's around equal out of the opening, so Anish should be fine with this. What about Magnus Carlsen versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov? Look at this position, guys. It is so complicated with all the pieces on the board. Only one pair of pawns exchanged. 21 moves have been played. I think it can go any way here. So Magnus has to be careful, although his position does look slightly better. But there are weaknesses here. There are outposts for the black knights. It's a typical King's Indian position. You have to be on the lookout for the e5 break always with this knight on c5 hanging. Let's get back to Pragnananda's game and see if he has realistic chances of trying for more than half a point. Takes rook f1, and now he goes rook e8, attacking the e2 pawn. And let's say if you play a move like e3, then this is already trouble because of bishop d3, and the rook is running out of squares. Bishop c4, black is better. So bishop g3, rook f1, rook e8. I think he might go for the move, perhaps knight g5. No, it's not so simple, guys. The Pragnananda is putting pressure here. His bishop on g3, making sure that the e2 pawn is not easy to defend. And he plays knight g5. Very good by Hans Niemann. Very good move. Also threatening h7 check. King h8, knight f7. So, technically speaking, Pragnananda's chances to make it to top 8, not easy. Firstly, he has to try and win this, which is looking difficult. Secondly, even if he draws here, he will have to beat Artemiev. Again, not easy. Technically, perhaps it may not even work with a win against Artemiev, but we'll see. So after knight g5, Pragg played in the position. No, actually knight g5 was first. First cd5 was played. Okay, cd, And now knight g5. Okay, that's even better perhaps. Knight b6. And now Niemann has a big advantage here. So Pragg blundered with knight b6. Knight f6 was a better move. But it's not so easy to understand why this would be a mistake. E2, you are saying that here can we take on e2, but if you take on e2 then bishop d5 with the idea of taking on f7 looks scary. So that's the reason why knight b6. But now I'm thinking bishop h3, and this looks very strong, guys, because after take on h3 there is a very strong move here. Should we take back this, or can you see another very powerful move for white to play? Guys, look at this. What should white play? You can look at Niemann. He knows that he's got his chance. He has played the move bishop h3, offering a trade on the f5 bishop. If you now take on h3, what is the move there? Yes, rook f7. Well done, guys. You take this pawn, not with the king, with the rook. And you have threats like rook g7 check, followed by, see, this is the threat. Say I go a6, just for the sake of argument. Check. If you go king h8, knight f7. And if you go king f8, knight h7 mate. So you have to be very careful here. And this move, rook takes f7, the right move has been given by World of Wit, Rohan, Shubham, Priyansh, Vignesh, Ubaid, Sankalp, Shubham, Sarvesh, and Harshil. Well done, all of you, for finding this move. Rook takes f7. Now, what did Pragg do here? After bishop h3, he is in trouble. So if he doesn't move the bishop, I mean, he'll just take it. So if Pragg loses this, then to no chance. So yeah, he takes there, and rook f7. Once again, a very accurate move by Hans Niemann. So you can sometimes, when you wonder, is Niemann, how strong is he? Then you see such games where the accuracy is simply off the charts, and you realize how strong this youngster is. Okay, going to Alexandra Kosteniuk versus Eric Hansen game. Goes rook e8, and Kosteniuk takes a pawn up for Kosteniuk. What should now black do? Maybe knight a4. If Kosteniuk manages to score her first win of the tournament, that it would be so good. It doesn't even matter whom she's playing against. It's just the fact that she is, after 13 losses, she's able to win this one. Let's see. Queen a7 is winning. By the way, a lot has happened in the game of Pragnananda and Niemann. So after rook f7, Pragg went bishop e6 here, and rook takes g6, attacking the bishop. Bishop g8, and now h7. Very important move, because notice how if you were to play bishop d7, then check, king here, and what's the winning move, guys? I want 100 people to answer this. White to play and win. At least 100 of you should answer this, guys. Absolutely. Remember the mating concept that we have spoken about. when these three pieces are in one line, it's a mate with the rook being protected. So the right move, I want to see if 100 of you have given the answers. Oh, more than 200 of you have given. That is tremendous. Rohan, Tizia, Mamba, chess players, quotes, Adarsh, Dhruv, Arnav, Himanshu, Shriyansh, World of Wit. I also want to call out some names who have given the answer. Prabeen Ghale, Aditya Shah, Arka, Rohit Saini, Madhesh Kumar, Tushar Gaur. Well done. So you all very sharp with your mating patterns, that you are very well aware of it. So in the game Pragg, that's why I went bishop g8 to control this and this both the squares. h7 was played, and now if you were to take here, it's a mate in one, knight f7, so you can't even take it. Bishop e1 was played, bishop f4, knight c4. He took and made a rook g8, rook h6, king g7, and now rook a6. Material has been equalized. Oh, and after bishop takes c3, actually here instead of playing rook a6, perhaps rook c6 was better, because if let's say rook c6, bishop takes c3, and now e3, white is having a great position. The fact that you went to rook a6, now bishop c3 and e3, black could continue maybe with bishop here, king f2, rook here, putting pressure, and it seems like if I had this rook on c6 here instead of a6, and if you went bishop d2, I could go king f2, and if you went rook e8, then I could play knight e6. I'm still trying to figure out what is the main difference, but maybe knight c7 with d5 hanging, and that could be one of the things. Anyway, Pragg goes rook e8 now. He's like, take this pawn, Niemann. I will then move up with my king. Let's have a look at the game of Magnus Carlsen against Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. And Magnus has managed to get completely winning position. Rook e7, rook d1, both were maneuvering, queen e3, king g8, knight e2, rook e6, and then came in, I think rook e6 was a mistake, rook e5, e5, queen e7. If now, that's what we were talking about, yeah, if you take here, then queen takes c5. It's a common trick. e5, queen d8, knight to d4, good move, rook is trapped, takes, and now queen e5. White is an exchange up and can keep pressing. Whew. Let's go to Pragnananda's game and see if he's going to be able to save it. Meanwhile, I'm very interested in Kosteniuk's game because it's a great story there, that after 13 losses, she was able to make a comeback. But after knight a4, instead of taking this pawn here on a7, she went queen d5, knight b2, rook b1. Let's see how this goes, the game. Meanwhile, Pragnananda versus Niemann. Niemann takes on a7. Pragg goes up king f6, which is not a good move by Pragnananda. He should have played king g8, keeping his king on the last rank. But he went up, now rook a6. And now Pragg's king is in a quandary, where to go. King g7 could be played. Check. and now knight e6 check, and I take this. Even if you went king f6 and rook e6, that pawn endgame is just winning because of an extra additional pawn in the position. So Pragg goes king f5, Hans Niemann goes knight f7. And now Pragg has to take care. Yeah, there are many forks in the position. Guys, just a second, I'll be back. Until then, I'm going to leave you with the game of Anish Giri taking on Artemiev, and to see if Anish has a good position or is it drawish. I think Anish has his chances. No, actually, Artemiev is slightly better here with white. Artemiev is better, and maybe because of this bishop who is quite poorly placed, I think he has his chances here to press for something more than a draw. But could be that, and keeping the queens makes a lot of sense here, because once the queens are still on the board, you have your knight and queen coordinating to go against the black king. Interesting. Let's see if Artemiev is able to press here. Meanwhile, Carlsen has started to play some tactical shots here. Although Mamedyarov has moved in with his pieces, but this is not going to be enough. I think knight e4 seems like a great idea with knight f6 check in the air, and yeah, I think also rook d8 is very powerful. So Carlsen will beat Mamedyarov. Let's go to Pragnananda's game and see what Pragg is up to after bishop f4. Yeah, we saw until take here, rook a6, bishop c3, e3, bishop d2, king f2, rook e8, rook a7, king f6, check, king f5, knight f7, king e4, goes king e2. Very nice move. What if I take knight takes, there is knight d6, and Niemann has won the game. Pragnananda has resigned this because he realizes that he is 2 pawns down, and also his king is very much in a mating net now. So that's the reason why he resigns. Like, let's say if I move my bishop away to c3, then a very cool move. Now guys, white to play and mate in 3. What move would you play? Try to figure out. It's a very nice move. Harshit Gupta, well done. Harshit Gupta has found this move. Yeah, Pragg will not qualify, I believe. Rook f6. World of Wit, Zwishen Zug, and then knight g5. Yeah, many of you say rook e6. Then this is just a free rook. So rook f6 with the idea of knight g5, mate, and if you go rook g8, then there are many moves, but bishop g5 makes a lot of sense. If you take here, I'll take back. Otherwise, rook f4 is a mate. Okay, let's go back to Artemiev versus Anish. See how Anish tries to hold himself. So great victory for Hans Niemann, who's played really well in this game. Oh, they drew already. Anish and Artemiev have drawn their game just right now. And Magnus Carlsen is just brutally trying to outplay. Yeah, Mamedyarov resigns the game. Magnus Carlsen wins. Very happy with this win, and Mamedyarov just, after beating Anish, he was in good form, but couldn't find his own against the world champion. Let's go to another interesting game, which is Erik Hansen against Alexandra Kosteniuk. Will Alexandra find her first win of the tournament after losing 13 games? That is the million-dollar question. And let's see. She's still better. She has an extra pawn. She has the bishop pair. But under time pressure with just 55 seconds, anything can happen. So place queen to c7. The knights are always tricky creatures. And if I could just give a check here, king h2, knight f2 would have hanged. But there's no check in the position. Queen, oh, he gives queen a1 check. King h2 takes on f2. Oh, but mate. Can Kosteniuk find it? This is the test. It's a checkmate. She takes, and Eric, such a nice sport. He says, well played. And Kosteniuk, look at that smile on the face. After 13 losses, she's finally won her game. What a victory there for the Russian player. Gritty is the word that comes to mind, and very well accepted loss by Erik Hansen, who's smiling there. He acknowledges that his opponent played well. What a victory for Kosteniuk, and what a champion she is. It's amazing how she managed to win. She won her game. She left the camera. She must be so happy right now. If you told someone that someone lost 13 games and then won one game and was very happy, you would then question, like, what? How is it even possible? Haven't they lost 13 games? But then when you see that actually that victory, the taste of victory after 13 losses, you realize that it is all very, very situational. Who's happy, who's not. So Duda versus Esipenko is going on still. Let's bring them on our screen. But I'm very, very inspired by seeing how Kosteniuk fought and won this game. What, Esipenko lost on time or what? Both players really into the position, but Esipenko's time shows 0. Could be that he's lost on time. But one does not think so much. Maybe there's some glitch. Rakshit says she showed perseverance for sure. Ah, there have been some moves. Ooh, I'm sorry, guys. Duda is actually winning his game. And Jan-Krzysztof Duda clearly better here. Esipenko trying to get his knight to f2. Knight f6, knight g4 could be idea. Oh, f2 check. Maybe queen f2. If knight f2, there is queen f3. Yeah, queen f2 good move. Queen e7. Rook f7. Queen e2, and now maybe queen g5. Black still better, but white does have some chances now. Knight f2. Esipenko defending very hard. Some of the results in this round have been Anish Giri drawing against Artemiev, Mamedyarov losing to Magnus, Levon beating Nodirbek, Duda and Esipenko still playing, Ting Liren drawing against Nepo until Baer Kings, Eric Hansen losing to Alexandra Kosteniuk, Liem Quang fighting it out against Vincent, but most likely a draw. And Pragg losing his game to Hans Niemann. Let's have a look at the standings while these games are going on. It's still not the final standings after the round, but still, let's have a look at that. Okay, and so Anish has to really play well in the last round against Magnus he wants to qualify. And that is the round, that is the game that we are all looking for. Meanwhile, black is entering the position. But Esipenko defending hard here. Vineet Parthe says, don't know if other UPIs work and wanted membership, but would like to know if whom it goes now. You mean Vineet, we have in the description, we haven't put it here, but there are UPI options to contribute. If you just put HelpChess Foundation, you will get the UPI details. It's in all the articles recently, not the previous ones, but recently that have been written. And well, for the month of November, we had helped a girl called Shreya. For the month of December, we are going to support a young boy who's from Tamil Nadu, and his name is Dakshin. I will write more about him in a couple of days, and in the upcoming days, I'll also announce about January. So there are many youngsters now that the tournaments have started who are in need of funds to travel to play these events, and with all your support, we are supporting many of them who have a genuine need. Prakhar Gupta, hi Sagar, what are your thoughts on Artemiev? I think he has qualified every time since he came into the championship. There are some players who just have this very quiet demeanor about them. They do not make it to the news or something like this. Like, not everyone is talking about them. They are not very active on social media. They just play good, strong chess. Like, for example, Artemiev is one example. There's Liem Quang, Liem here. Ding Liren, okay, I mean, he's reached 2800, he's world number 3, so everyone follows him, but also very quiet player. I think Artemiev is one of them, and very strong. I mean, he has been, in this, at least in Blitz and Rapid, he's extremely strong. But I've also felt that he's very powerful in classical chess. And I think we can expect a lot from him in the years to come. He's still very young. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's 99 born. 98 born, yeah. 5th of March, 98. So he's just 23 years old. He'll turn 24 now. Clearly the next big thing from Russian chess, no? And his peak rating, that's the interesting part of him. That his current rating has dropped, I think. But his peak rating in classical chess, right now it's around 2700, but was 2761 in 2019 when he was just 20 years old. So, we have been talking about Firuza, who became world number 2 at the age of 18, but Artemiev 3 years ago was right there at the top in world number 10. So right now he's fallen back. Let's hope that he is able to make a comeback. Yeah, the end of the tournament is Anish versus Magnus, so don't go away, guys. That's the game we're going to focus on. Let's talk to the chat a bit and see what's happening. Champ TV says, Sagar, according to you, who's Which scoring system is good and better for chess in general? Win 3, draw 1, win 2, draw 1. Your views. I think win 3, draw 1 looks very interesting. Win 2, draw 1 actually is not put many times into use. I don't know why. Maybe it could also be interesting. Ravi Kumar Jha says, Sagar bhai kaise ho? I'm very good. Utsav says must win for Anish to qualify. Maybe draw should not be enough, you think? By the way, Esipenko has lost here. Black queen coming in from behind here. Check. And if you go king h4, there is queen h1 picking up the rook. Otherwise, it's just over. I mean, if you go king here, f5, then I give check and I win here. If you go king g3, I give a check and then eventually I win this way. So let's have a look at the standings before the last round will begin. Now that all the games have been completed, these are the standings on your screen. Aha, Anish is 9th now. Yeah, must win perhaps for him. Yeah, against Magnus. So draw means, okay, draw means also some chance because so many players on 21 points, right? And Pragnananda will play Artemiev. So let's just get ready for the encounter. Yeah, and let's look at the pairings also for this round. The pairings for this round are the following. Ramesh Babu Pragnananda versus Artemiev, Liem Quang versus Niemann, Eric Hansen versus Vincent, Liren versus Kosteniuk, Duda versus Nepomniachtchi, Aronian, Esipenko, Mamedyarov, Nodirbek, Anish Giri, and Carlsen. I just want to see like which games are very critical from the qualification perspective. So if we see like this here, I'm just trying to compare. So if we see number 8, Vincent is taking on Eric Hansen. I think that's an important game. Vincent versus Eric Hansen, because Vincent has to win. Okay. Aronian is playing against Esipenko. It's also important because I think one of them will go through. Liren needs to beat Kosteniuk in the last round. And yeah, that's how things are. Let's see how it pans out. Will Anish get hacked right now, says Kishore Hazarika. Let's see. Yes, for the UPI details related to wanting to help chess players, I'll put that up in the description. Just give me a second. What do you think, guys? Who's going to win? Anish or Magnus? What's your take? Hot take here. Let's make a poll so that we can figure out who is supporting whom. Who will win? Carlsen, Anish, draw. Okay, I've put it up there. Okay. So I've added the details in the description. If anyone wants to find UPI details to help some chess players, please do find them there. And let's going to be a Grunfeld, says certified genius. I mean, Magnus would be okay with a draw, yeah? Okay, we don't want to miss anything here. So let's get it rolling. You have Anish already there. Pragnananda takes on Artemiev. And Anish Giri versus Magnus Carlsen. White pieces for Anish must win to qualify in top 8. Magnus is here. It's a bit sleepy, it seems to me. Let's get them both closer to each other, no? Again, let's see if we can. Okay, for the start, let's have this. Guys, come on. Last round, Magnus versus Anish. We need 111 subscribers to reach 857k. Please do so. Also, please do like the stream. We have 1700 likes. We wanted to reach 3000. So please do like it if you haven't done so already. Has the game started? Not yet, but they should start, right? I think Anish will play d4. Guys, game. Has the game begun or? I think last round, so they are just taking some time. Okay, it hasn't started yet. And Magnus turns off his camera. Brain says Magnus, heart says Anish, says Shaibi. Narendra Khandekar says if Anish plays 1e4, then d5, Scandinavian. b3. I don't think b3 is going to happen. Clock not visible. Well, clock not visible because the game has not started yet. Let's see. Kalpak Raut, who has been pillar of Indian chess for 15 months, that's amazing, Kalpak, right from the start, says, Sagar, what is your reaction on the hype that Pragg's win on Carlsen got? The traction that this news got, at least on Twitter, was something I had never witnessed. True. By the way, e4 for Anish, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5 in the position. Rui Lopez, all those who said Rui Lopez, that has actually happened. Rook e1, b5. They're playing the main line, bishop b3 castles, and a4 anti-martial on the board, not allowing c3 d5, which is the martial gambit. Rook b8. This is all happened in the world championship. Well, Kalpak, to talk about the one second, they are making moves very quickly, so let's just see. This is all very well known. d3. Now Magnus thinking what to do next. Maybe he will go h6, one possible move, or rook e8. Maybe there's knight g5, so maybe h6 looks logical. I have a feeling that there are some things which, like for example, Pragnananda winning against Magnus, at that point no one knew, at least I was not aware, that Magnus had COVID, right? And maybe if that was already known, then people would have not been like, okay, that's amazing, because Magnus was not in his best physical shape. But that being said, Pragnananda played very well the game, the last part. Also, when you talk about an online event or OTB event, that's also different. But one has to remember that so many Indian players have played in Champions Chess Tour, including Vidit, Harikrishna, Adiban, Arjun, but none of them could ever beat Magnus. So I think that it was a great achievement by Pragg. I'm surprised that it got so much traction, but then there have been some amazing performances in the past by Pragg and other youngsters which never got that traction. So I think it's good that this got it, and it is very interesting that Sachin, who follows it, what I liked about Sachin's tweet was that he said that he drew with black piece. I mean, he beat him with black pieces, and writing that showed that Sachin actually follows chess. Maybe, or someone told him something about it. Junaid Ahmed, Sagar, what do you think about Nepo's tweet? I have to check. Sagar Rathod, thank you for becoming backer of Indian chess. What did Nepo tweet? Class difference as it is. Airthings Masters. 1 hour ago. Class difference as it is. What was the meaning of that? Can anyone explain? Am I missing something? Really? Means Nepo loses to Hansen and then Hansen loses to Kosteniuk. Something related to that? Okay, just checking about Carlsen and Anish's game and seeing whether this opening has been played before and how much of it is theory. Okay, let's just... And well, we already have a new position on the board that has never been reached before. I think here, till here, this was Carlsen Nepo game 7 d3, but Magnus had gone h6. But this time Magnus goes bishop d7, and Anish played knight c3, knight b4, already a new move. So I think this bishop d7 is kind of rare. Otherwise, this position has been reached 46 times. Bishop e6 being played, Nepo Duda also has been played, h6 main move. Okay, now that we know a bit more about the opening, let's follow it even more closely. Knight b4, knight e2. Anish is shifting his knight to the king side, hoping that he can use 1, 2, this bishop already looking here, all of them for building up an attack. Queen c7, bishop d2, knight goes back, bishop g5, h6. You know, I would have loved to actually build up an attack with knight h4 in order to go here. And knight e4 is not possible because of rook e4. So it seems like a good idea to go knight h4, because knight e4 idea was to attack this, but then rook e4 would have come and defended this. So bishop g5, h6, Anish takes, and look at this next move from Anish Giri. He used knight f1. If you see this knight, it went from c3, b1 to c3, e2 to g3 to f1 to e3 to d5. The knight does not have... I mean, it's working very hard, but also it shows that in closed positions, you can make 1, 2 out of 18 moves, 5 moves with one piece, 4 moves, and still be fighting for an advantage. I think knight e3 to d5 should give white a very pleasant position. Priyanshu Srivastav says, if knight h4, what about g6? Generally, if you are able to provoke something like g6, you just come back and say that, okay, you can claim that I got some edge by weakening these squares a bit, although not too hugely tangible, but looks good. Okay, also let's quickly check what is up with Pragnananda and Artemiev. This is the last game for Pragnananda in this event. He will not be qualifying in the top 8. Okay, Pragg was playing with the white pieces and started off with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. It's the Italian on the board. d3, bishop e7 variation, castle's castle. And yesterday he had, I think, played knight c3 at some point. Pragg continues with that, a4, h6, a5, 6, knight c3, rook e8, h3, bishop f8, d4, maybe not the best. Knight e2 with the idea of knight g3 would have been better, because whenever you play a move like d4, it's very concrete. Take, knight takes, and now an important move here for black. d5 was played, hitting the center. The point is, if you take here, I take on e1. Black is piece up. Otherwise, you can take this way with the knight. Then after knight takes, bishop takes, knight d4, queen d4, and c6. Black wins material. You can take here, here, and ED. But even this position, it seems like black has equalized. So keeping all of this in mind, it seems like d5 is a very good move by Artemiev and Pragnananda in deep thought. That's why the move d4 was not well timed by Pragg, because of this exact reason of d5. Let's go back to Anish Giri versus Magnus Carlsen. After h6, he took on f6, bishop f6, knight f1, and now Magnus goes knight to d4. Well, on one hand, you can take, but then after cd4, your knight no longer can come to e3. Also, there could be some pressure down the c file. So I don't think Anish will take, but at the same time, you don't want to give up your bishop. So he would play bishop d5. That's what I get a feeling. And then get knight e3. I mean, hope that white gets some grip on the light squares. Generally, in such openings, d3 kind of Ruy Lopez or the anti-Marshall, the positions look very equalish. But one inaccuracy and things change drastically because of the symmetrical nature of the position. Let's say I go bishop c6 for the sake of argument, and then knight e3, and already white has got a very good position. Now c3, then takes, and then knight d5. Yeah, Anish did go here bishop. No, he went knight d4. He took ed4 played by Magnus. Surprisingly, he wants to go c4 next. Bishop d5, saving your bishop. C4, and now Anish plays the move b3, which is fine, but he could have also just ignored it and gone knight g3. And let's say I take, say rook c8, knight h5. I mean, the attack is very strong here. So I think Anish should have gone knight g3 instead of touching here on the queen side, but he wanted to clarify the situation instantly and he plays b3. Magnus, of course, goes quickly in and offers a trade of bishops. One thing I was wondering is, after take, can we take? Take, and yeah, the position is around even. Let's see how the game continues. Yeah, Anish did have some good chance, but okay, now Pragg, by the way, after d5, he played he took, takes here, bishop f1, c5, bishop f4, and notice how in this position white has some pressure down the a6 point, which is fixed. So that does give white some advantage here. Very small, but pretty good. Just a second, I'll try to get back the board once again. I'm just getting the board here, guys. 1 second. Okay, so ED, rook e1, queen e1, CD, bishop f1, c5, bishop f4 by Pragg. Oops, what happened? I just... Okay, so Pragg has some pressure on the position with his bishop and queen. But if you look at the position, guys, black has this strong center and good chances of creating a central passer. But a6 is a weakness and the bishop is looking here. So it's quite a interesting position. Small edge for white, but Artemiev should be able to hold his own here. Going to Anish versus Magnus game. It's an interesting situation. After b3, he went bishop e6, take, knight d2, c3, knight f3. So Anish is claiming that in this closed position, his knight is much better than the bishop. And I'm thinking that if you can get e5, d, e, and then put the knight on e4, but even with e5, I think he will definitely take with the bishop. So it's not easy. Rook 8, and instead of e5 here, he played queen e2 and e5. Black has played. So black's bishop is horrible, but at the same time, black has excellent control over the position and knight has no good outpost to go to. So let's see who's able to press here. If Magnus gets b4 and rook a3, then doubling down the a file, Anish would be in some trouble. Oh, and look at this. Levon Aronian has just sacrificed his bishop on h6 and Esipenko takes on f3. What a position. c2, queen c2, ed, bishop h6, rook f3. And now what? gf3, queen h4. Quite powerful. Going back to the game of Pragg and Esipenko, it's gone rook d1, putting pressure on the d5 pawn. Now d4 could come in. I think what's going to happen is that after d4, if you go queen g3, then a5. What the heck? Somehow again it's got hung up here. One second, guys. I'll just be back. Give me a second. I don't know. Well, something has gone wrong with the chessboard, so I need to get it up again. Sorry, guys. Sorry for this bad experience. Um, yeah, should be able to get this running now. Rakshank Savadati, thank you for becoming booster of Indian chess. Okay, there we have it. Back, the board is back. Okay, bishop b5 played by Artemiev, and yeah, maybe he's just putting his bishop here. Pragg cannot take it because ab5 means all the pawns are together and would be very strong. So perhaps next move d4, and then you can't block it on the light square. So pretty interesting position. Let's go to Anish versus Magnus. What's happening there? Because after e5, what Magnus really did was that he tried to infiltrate down the a file. And Anish said, okay, I will put my knight here and I will defend staunchly. So queen d7, king g2, king f7, rook b1, king e7, queen d1, queen a7. So Anish now wanted to get into the position with queen c8. So Magnus went king d8, but now queen e6 could be a possibility. Guys, the game is getting hot here. Anish's knight has said that, I'm defending c2. I'll not let you take this pawn. And the queen and the rook are controlling the a file. But what is there on the a file? A file seems like something that you own, but does not have much value. It's like crypto right now. Could become very useful in future, again like crypto. Meanwhile, Anish says, I'm getting in. Once I get in, I'm attacking your pawn here. I have queen g8 check ideas as well. So it seems like Anish Giri might have some chances, but all the same time, Anish will not be able to draw this game. If he draws this game, he's out of the tournament. So he has to beat. It's a very unenviable position to be in. That you're playing Magnus Carlsen and you have to be in a must-win situation. So queen e6. Some moves have been played. Queen d7, played queen g8 check, king c7, b4, attacking the rook here. Don't forget that rook a4, knight f3, knight is trying to come in, king b7, queen d5 check, queen c6, queen f7 check, queen c7, queen e6, keeping the queens on the board and keeping the pressure going. If the knight can somehow enter the position, that would be massive. By the way, Aronian lost his game to Andrey Esipenko. He missed this move d3 because after you take, then f2 is hanging, and if you played queen d2, there's knight c4. There's no way to control this square. Ding Liren against Alexandra Kosteniuk. This time Ding is not leaving any chances to his opponent and he is better. Also Eric Hansen against... Eric is playing this time against Vincent, and seems like Vincent has some edge here, or maybe it's around equal. Should end in a draw. Going again back to the game. Look at how Anish is making use of his knight here. He's gone knight h2. He wants to go to g4. At the same time, he's definitely not going to trade queens. But where to go with the queen then? Queen b3. And then maybe even f4 in the air. Guys, this game has two possible outcomes here, I feel. I mean, all three are possible, but for now it seems like either Anish is pressing, the game could end in a draw, but clearly Anish has the edge here. Because this bishop is such a horrible piece. So when Magnus played his pawn to e5, he was hoping that Anish will not be able to stabilize the position and he will create enough threats down the a file. Anish has stabilized the position. Now offering a queen trade, he is going to have to decline it, because once you take the queen, what is he going to draw? No, he's repeated twice. I don't think Anish wants to draw, right? Because I don't see Anish having a chance to qualify, right, if he draws the game. And it has happened twice. The repetition has taken place twice. Oh, he drew. He drew the game, but for me, that's a big surprise actually. Let's have a look at the standings. Anish has moved to 8th position. Oh, Levon lost. But wins anyone from below. Maybe Ding will win. He'll come to 21. Nodirbek. Yeah, maybe some chance, no? What do you think? It was a bit surprising, but well, in the end, if Anish does make it to the 8th spot, that would have been a smart decision. Let's see. Let's wait till all the games are over. Pragnananda, meanwhile, has entered into the position with rook to d7. And the b2 pawn is defended. And how does Artemiev continue here? Maybe check. King h2. Queen takes c2. Queen d5. Attacking a8 and f7. Queen c4. Queen takes a8. Queen takes f4 check. And perhaps that position is interesting, you know, like it's not so simple. I can ask Anish to join here today, see if he's available. But I think if he qualifies, maybe then we can ask him. Let's see. Let's wait and watch. But Ding Liren will win this, right? He's totally better against Kosteniuk. So in terms of standings, then Ding will move ahead of Anish because he'll get 3 points. Move to 22. And that means Anish is out, right? Unless in Vincent loses, Liem Quang, Liem loses. I mean, there are still some possibilities. So we'll wait. The tie breaks are not very clear. Liem Quang Liem is pressing against Hans Niemann. And Vincent is pressing against Eric Hansen. Artemiev down to 1 minute 42 seconds. It's taking a lot of time here. He's thinking about what needs to be done. Can Pragnananda beat Artemiev? If he does that, that would be a great end to Pragg's event. I think Artemiev is calculating this line. Check, king h2, take, queen d5, double attack here and here, queen c4, only move. And now, if you take on c4, it's around equal. So you take, check. If you go king g1, I'll give, can always give perpetual. So g3, take, and queen g2. And this position has to be assessed as to who's better, but it seems like it's around equal. Okay, anyway, he didn't go for queen b1 check, he went g6. And maybe Pragnananda can now play king h2. He has 3 minutes extra. Artemiev has only 1 minute on the clock. g6. And Pragg can go like king h2. He can also play bishop e3 to put pressure here. Or I was wondering if we can go bishop d2 with the idea of bishop c3 to mate him. But he will go bishop g7 anyway. And then c5 is hanging. Not sure. Not sure what needs to be done here. But king h2 makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a typical Pragnananda move. King h2, because then there are no checks on the last rank. And it can be very useful. Pragnananda has 3 minutes. Oh, by the way, look at Ding Liren, how he finished this game. Here, he went. Now the queen is attacked, but he goes knight f6 check. The king goes h8, then take. If you even take on f6, I have take on h7 with the support of my rook. And so Ding Liren won his game against Kosteniuk. Nepo is perhaps going to be able to hold this against Duda, although he's pawn down. And Nodirbek against Mamedyarov. This is just winning for Mamedyarov. Exchange up against Nodirbek. Okay, so Niemann coming close to a draw against Liem Quang. Yeah, so Pragg went queen e4, attacking the somewhere, keeping an eye on the rook. Bishop g7. b3, rook f8 played by, is rook f8 really played? And now Pragg is better. Actually, what was the idea of rook f8? Maybe he just wants to free his queen from the defense of this. Bishop d6 by Pragnananda. That's a good move. Queen a8 was Artemiev's idea. But at the very least, you can take and play bishop c5 when white is a pawn up. Or Pragnananda may want to keep the queen. Also, like in the game, if we would have gone g3, queen a8 and rook b7, it seems like since the queens are not exchanged, white has excellent attacking chances. And Pragg has only 1 minute 27 seconds left. Artemiev has 24 seconds only left. We're getting into the time pressure zone of this game. Queen a8, you can't take the rook because your queen is hanging. And if you were to take the queen, then the rook gets out without any trouble. Queen f4 played by Pragg. And his point is that if the rook moves, I will take here. Plays queen e8. But look at this move, guys. Bishop d4. And now a check here. King h2 and bishop e5 is winning for, I mean, is better for black. So bishop d4 was a very ingenious defensive attempt, but he went queen e8. Now rook e7, queen 8 and rook c7. For now, the rook is defended. If the rook moves out, then this is hanging. And now you can just take on f8. So Pragnananda is actually going to beat Artemiev. And you can see Artemiev totally unhappy with his position, totally unhappy with his play. He has 16 seconds. Pragg goes rook b7. He's threatening this. If he plays king h7, there is rook f7. And I think it's time to resign. Pragnananda has won his game against Artemiev. What a finish for Pragnananda. He has managed to beat some very strong players. Esipenko, Artemiev, Aronian, Mamedyarov. Sorry, not Mamedyarov. Magnus Carlsen. and a great event for little Pragg. And with this win, Pragg finishes 11th. It's a good performance, but yeah, even Anish is not going to qualify here. Guys, now see which game is going on. Okay, Vincent versus, yeah, let's go to Nepo versus Duda. Nice move by Nepo. If rook c6, that is 35. But yeah, 95. King here and take. So let's take, check, king here and take this. Nodirbek versus Mamedyarov. Mamedyarov is winning. It's a mate in 3 now. Check. King g7. There is mate. So king e7. And now if king d5 would have been played, that was all over. Controlling these squares. So Mamedyarov beats Nodirbek. Good finish for Mamedyarov, but lost a lot of games before. Duda drew with Nepo. Vincent versus Eric should be a draw. Let's just look at the final standings and then we will end the stream. This is, I think, the last game before all the games are completed. There's also Niemann versus Liem Quang, but this is a draw. 2 versus 1. So let's just stay a bit glued on this. This is also a draw. Let's get this players. Vincent versus Eric Hansen on the screen. And this is going to be the Philidor draw now. All that Eric has to do is maybe check and bring his rook back to the third rank. Vincent not agreeing to a draw. He wants to fight on. So Niemann versus Liem Quang ends in a draw. Vincent also draws, which means we have now, these are the standings. All games have been completed. Nepo takes on tomorrow Vincent, who has made it to the top 8. Carlsen takes on Liem Quang. Artemiev takes on Ding Lishan. Esipenko takes on Eric Hansen. That's the top 8. Pragnananda, commendable effort, scoring 5 wins here. Just 16 years of age. In terms of young talents, we would say that Sipenko, I wouldn't call him young now. He's well matured. But in terms of young talents, Vincent has made it to top 8. Pragg, Abdusattorov were not able to. I mean, Abdusattorov especially was not able to live up to his world title, but he finished 12th here. Hans Niemann scored 15 points and Kosteniuk won one game over here. Well, guys, this is how the Airthings Masters is poised, and I'll try to do the interviews with the players later, tomorrow or so. For now, I will end this stream and thank you all for following and see you. Bye bye. Manasvi